What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for The Rising of the Shield Hero Season 3. This is episode 2, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
So we're properly introduced to this mysterious woman that was introduced last week. Um, Initially, she introduces herself as Nadia, who is the mysterious woman that Naofumi interacted with in the last episode, pretty much to walk him through about how the tournament works. And over time, Naofumi and the others managed to win several more matches uh, uh, until like several of their competitors end up forfeiting, which of course now Fumi and the others like managed to move up the ranks even further because of that. However, after like another interaction with Nadia, um, and both Naofumi and Nadia get ambushed by several of the competitors that ended up forfeiting in the first place, but they end up, getting beaten easily just because of how powerful Naofumi is, even with his shield.
Well, also because Nadia was able to do some kind of like chain lightning attack on them.
Yeah, and it's not, and it's fully revealed once Naofumi and Raftalia and Philo make it to the finals, in which they end up fighting Nadia herself, which she turns out to be a like a killer whale demi-human.
Yeah, I was kind of taken aback by that. I honestly didn't expect that at all. But I also noticed like I thought at first it was part of her clothing, but if you look closely, you can see like part of her skin is like uh it's kind of like this dark color. I was like kind of wondering about that. But it basically is because she's revealed to be a killer whale, which is the uh so that's why her skin looks kind of like that, where like part of it sort of like has like these dark areas, like kind of a killer whale would have, I guess.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
and of course her abilities is makes sense because she can utilize both water and lightning attacks at the same time. So it get the match between them gets somewhat into a stalemate until Raftalia recognizes her as someone she remembers from her past, and it's also revealed that Nadia's real name is Sedina.
yeah. I guess this is somebody that well. Yeah, because they like she recognizes her because she transforms into her killer whale form, and I guess it's someone that Raftalia knew from the past. Um, but we don't really get too much about that. She also recognizes now Raftalia, um, and I don't know. I guess like, I mean, she recognizes her, and then of course, Raftalia introduces Naofumi as the Shield Hero, which I it seems like she knew who Naofumi was, but of course she also didn't really recognize him until Raftalia told her who he was. Um, so yeah, but then they still continue fighting. I guess it doesn't really seem to change that. Uh, she I think that's when she launches that like what was it like water, like some kind of
Well,
water attack like or
well, what happened after this is once Sedina recognizes Raftalia, she decides to not to actually throw the match on purpose, and
yeah, oh yeah, right.
of course like she doesn't do it without like putting on like a good show to make it look convincing and stuff. But she eventually does end up throwing the match towards Naofumi, Reptalia, and Philo. Um, so just when like Naofumi was about to win the grand prize, I think one of the sponsors uh, blatantly uh, negates that decision and decides to have Naofumi and his team alongside Sidina fight one more opponent, which turns out to be someone called this mysterious murder clown.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was kind of wondering about this character, and I guess they didn't really waste any time introducing who. I guess, well, we still don't really know who this character is. All we're told is that they're called the Murder Clown, and uh, it's kind of interesting because at the well, of course they fight the Murder Clown, and now Fumi ends up using this I forget what it's called, like some technique I remember that he learned from from Austin season 2, I guess. Uh, Both him and Sedina use it against the clown. Um,
Yeah.
it's some kind of I think it was like a well they don't actually use it on her, but they use it more so I guess as a just some kind of a buff to Raftalia, which is like some kind of a lightning buff that they give to her that she uses against the murder clown, which just completely destroys her. Well, at least at first you think so, but it turns out that it wasn't her real body that they had destroyed. It was just kind of like I guess a fake. Um, and then the murder clown says some weird stuff about like, if you can barely fight against me, then you won't stand a chance or something like that. And then it kind of mentions something about the other worlds and disappears. So I was kind of wondering about that because she says a lot of things that kind of have me scratching my head. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and then of course um, they end up becoming, I guess, the victors of the Colosseum or what. Well, I mean, first um, the guy who I guess technically is sort of in control of everything disputes this, but the slave trader tries to argue against it and say that Naofumi and his team, which I think were called what were they called, like the Rock or
Team Rock or something like
Rock,
that.
yeah, something like that. That they pretty much won and that they deserve all the money. Also somebody else who's also like I think he like owns a jewelry shop or something, and it turns out he's like uh
I remember
he's
this
actually like a
character.
really influential figure or something within the arena.
Yeah, I remember this character from way back in season 1 that Naofumi interacted with this character who helped him with a quest prior to this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems like of course revealed in this episode it seems like like he's very influential in you know like in like the merchandising market or whatever it is.
Yeah, so they basically, I guess they end up getting the money from, or the their winning money. Um, but we find out that basically we found out earlier that Sedina's what she was trying to do was also she was kind of there for the same reasons that Naofumi was, to buy back all the slaves. And of course Naofumi's plan is to do that anyway. Um, but we cut from that back to this other demi-human we saw before. uh I forget what his name is. It's like he's the
I I don't remember his name, but
yeah,
he is that white tiger demi-human that purposely threw a match in order to receive some money from like this noble boy.
right.
And
We kind of we learned basically that he was pretty much doing everything for his like I guess his sister is in like some kind of really bad condition, and he's because he receives this like what looks like a potion from this guy, and he goes to basically his sister, who is like just really looks really badly injured because she's covered in bandages.
mhm,
But we kind of have some of this sort of spoiled for us in the opening, so I kind of already as soon as he was introduced and we kind of saw what his character was doing, I kind of figured that was the case. And yeah, it seems like from this point onward, I guess maybe they're going to possibly going to focus on his story or what's going on with him, especially because the next episode is like, I think it was like, I guess it's probably going to be about him and his sister. Um, but yeah, I thought this is still a pretty decent episode. I actually was surprised at how quickly they went through the arena and all that. It only lasted 2 episodes. I thought it was actually going to be like a fairly lengthy arc, sort of like I guess somewhat of a tournament arc, but that didn't really end up being the case. Um, Maybe it's like this in the light novel too, but they kind of glossed over pretty much everything and until they got to the fight with Naofumi and Sedina, and then the killer clown. So, but I mean, it didn't really seem all that rushed to me. I'm assuming that the other fights probably weren't important anyway. Um, but yeah, I mean, the actual fight with Sedina and Naofumi and also with the clown, even though it kind of ended pretty quickly, I thought it felt like they were kind of trying to somewhat like flex the animations, because I mean, it did look pretty good. It definitely looks like it's a step up from season 2. Um,
yeah.
so I mean, I was fairly impressed with that.
Yeah, and I am liking how how the story is pacing out so far, including potentially like introducing the white tiger kid and his sister
Yeah.
to Naofumi. Some maybe probably in the next episode, seeing as the next episode is called the White Tiger siblings.
It also seems like they're kind of hinting at that those alternate world plot or the other world plot again, like with some kind of like with season two, with the killer clown sort of hinting at that. Um, but I don't know if they're really going to if they're going to get into that again. Um,
I mean, if
it-
if they are, I really wish it could be handled better than how they did in the than they handled it in the last season. But
yeah,
from what it's being advertised, at least for now, is that that Naofumi's mission is to locate the other three heroes who've gone MIA since the second season.
yeah. But yeah, I thought it was a fairly decent episode. I don't really have any complaints about it, other than it's just kind of felt like they definitely it felt like they definitely glossed over a lot of the other fights that Naofumi was involved in. But like I said, I guess those probably weren't important. I guess the only important thing was his fight with Sedina, and I mean it felt like it was probably going to be like a whole arc in and of itself. So I was a little bit surprised that wasn't really the case. And we're already done with it in the second episode. So I guess from this point, they're probably going to move on to the thing with the demi-human brother and sister.
Reclaim of all the demi-human slaves from Raphtalia's village in order to have them, defend help him defend his lands, but also,
Right.
like in a way, it's one step for Naofumi to, I guess, help regroup, like all of his allies in the kingdom in order to, fight off the impending threat.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
It was a decent episode, a good amount of action, and of course, introducing us to a brand new character, which is Sedina and what she's capable of. Um, and of course, like potentially, like I don't know, like I feel like there's going to be a little more development, character development in this season compared to how it was handled in the last season, because there wasn't a lot of character development that went about in the second season. It just went from like one plot point to the next, haphazardly for whatever reason.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I do agree. I kind of hope there is a lot more development with Naofumi and the other characters as well. I will say though, it does feel like so far Rishi is kind of getting the shaft because she's just been sitting in the background, like watching everything happening. I was kind of surprised she's not directly involved. Uh, she's just kind of been watching everything happening, and she hasn't really been involved in the plot really at all. Um, so I'm kind of hoping they do something with her character too.
Yeah. Well, for Rishia, like she was a former teammate of the Bow Hero, so it's
Yeah.
possible she could play a role in helping to find Itsuki, because it's hinted that that she has some some feelings for Itsuki in some ways, but I'm just
Hmm.
curious on like how they're gonna end up handling this, considering that there's only like 12, 13 episodes this season.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to that, I'm just afraid they're going to rush through certain things, but um, yeah, I guess we'll see. But yeah, guys, with that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.